Welcome friends, welcome back to the kitchen. We are in November, which firmly puts us into the holiday season. And I thought I'd do something maybe a little bit special. One of the wonderful things about running a food-centric YouTube channel is that almost weekly, a box will show up by the door with wine in it. Wineries wanting to show off their product. And so over the course of this year, we've collected 5 or 6 bottles of sparkling wine. And I was looking around for recipes that I could use sparkling wine in, and I think I came across this cake recipe. Although I'm not doing the cake recipe the way it was written. I've made a bunch of changes because that's what I do. So first things first, into the stand mixer, we're going to soften this butter. Now that the butter is softened, we're going to cream in the sugar. And this is kind of a free-flowing golden sugar. It gets really difficult to describe sometimes. Sugar is one of those things that is probably, I don't want to say the most lied about ingredient in the kitchen, but it's one of those ingredients that there's lots of mythology around sugar and types of sugar and blah, blah, blah. And it really depends on where you live and what brands you're dealing with. Here in Eastern Canada, where I live, 99% of the sugar that you're going to encounter in the grocery store is cane sugar. Comes in by boat. The refineries right here in Toronto comes in by boat direct from the Caribbean, gets dumped in a giant pile in the harbor in downtown Toronto, and refined there. Same in Montreal. Same in Vancouver. If you're kind of in the middle part of Canada, more than likely the sugar that you're going to encounter on the grocery store shelf is going to be from beets. And if you live in the United States, all bets are off. It's probably beet sugar that you're getting. Which makes it difficult for this particular sugar that I use to be transcribed across countries and regions. Use a light brown sugar. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And fun fact, that fun fact that you're typing into the computer right now to let me know that brown sugar is just white refined sugar with molasses added back in. Where I live, that is completely false. It's not the case. Okay, that's almost creamed together. I've got flour, I've got baking powder. Just give that a little bit of a stir. It doesn't need much because we're doing it in a stand mixer. There we go. And now we put the eggs in one at a time. That one was a little messy. It'll be okay. Now I need to zest these 2 oranges into the batter. Now I'm going to use the juice from the orange later. So let's get all of this zest into the batter. And I guess it's time to open the wine. And we need about 100 mils. Okay, now, I've got pecans. They're chopped fairly fine. You could use almonds, you could use walnuts, you could use peanuts if you wanted to use peanuts. This is one case where I'm going to give you the weight of the ingredient. Because I'm in Canada, we do everything by volume. And even though we use metric, we use volume metric, milliliters. So even my flour is measured in milliliters. It's a volume, you don't weigh it. And that catches people out all the time. They assume metric means by weight. It doesn't. But I will give you the weight of the nuts, but I'll also give you the volume measurement as well. So in go the pecans. And now we're at the stage where a little bit of flour, a little bit of wine, a little bit of flour, a little bit of wine. Okay, the oven is preheated to 350 degrees. I've got 2 cake tins that I've buttered, and we'll divide this relatively evenly between the 2 tins. And we'll just spread it into the corners. Same with this one. Oh, that's amazing. Okay, these are going to be really good. Into the oven, about a half an hour. Now, while the cakes are still warm, poke some holes in the top. So I had this internal debate along the way about what size cake tin to use. And often what I do is I'll look at, a dozen recipes that are all in sort of the same realm, pick one as sort of a base recipe, and then make changes to it based on all of the other recipes that I saw. This basic variation of a cake you see over and over and over again. And they all seem to cook it in the same size tin. And I thought, and especially when I poured it into the tins before I put it in the oven, I thought, it's not thick enough. It's far too thin. The tin is too big around. I think if I do this again, I think the flavor is going to be great because I tested the batter. But I think if I did this again, I would very definitely make it in a smaller tin. This was a 9-inch tin. I might do it, at least in an 8-inch tin, maybe even a 6-inch tin, just to get a little bit higher volume, not quite as big around. So, those 2 oranges that I zested, I juiced them. I got maybe a 1.25 cups of juice, a cup of sugar, a little bit more of that sparkling wine, and now I'm just going to spoon that over top. You want it to soak in, but I don't want the cake to be wet, if you get what I mean. So I'll spoon this over both layers while they're still warm and it'll soak in. And then I'll let these cool completely before I make the topping. Now it's time to make the topping. I called it a frosting earlier, or maybe I called it an icing. I don't know. It's a topping. It's whipped cream. Pretty much what we're going to do is we're going to flavor some whipped cream and use it between the cakes. So I'm going to take 300 mils of 35% whipping cream and put that into the stand mixer. Tablespoon of icing sugar and start that to whipping. Ground beef stew looking great. Okay, the whipping cream's starting to come together. This is the orange juice and sparkling wine glaze that I poured over the cake earlier. I'm going to take maybe 2 spoonfuls and put it in here with the whipped cream just to kind of flavor it. Maybe 3 spoonfuls. Let's see if we can push it to 3. Now, I'm just going to plop this between the layers and then again on top. I'm not going to do the sides. This is definitely a cake that'll go back in the fridge until serving time. And it's probably a cake that you don't want to put the filling on, or the whipped cream on, until just before dessert is served. Make the cake, whip the cream just before serving and put it on. Because this is not stabilized whipped cream, and it will fall apart, it will run. This is something that you want to eat pretty much right after dinner. So we've had the potatoes.
And we've had the biscuits.
Beef stew with biscuits.
Is it time for cake?
It's time for cake.
Hurrah!
Okay, so
No, hold on, Glenn. There's wine back here with the cake.
there is sparkling wine.
Sparkling wine.
The sparkling wine is in the cake.
Oh, that's why we didn't get it earlier. It's
Yeah.
in the cake. Interesting.
It's in the cake.
Interesting.
So, do we even have...
What does sparkling wine bring to cake?
I don't know.
You looking for wine glasses? Might be a tough one.
cocktail
We've got
glasses
cocktail glasses galore.
Okay, so I'm gonna get a couple of Nick and Norris. We'll get it.
Because, you know,
Oh,
there we go. Oh, look at those.
there's a couple of coupes. You pour us a little bit of sparkly wine, and I will get this cake going here.
All right. Let's see if I can do this with grace. Da, da, da.
So it's an orange
Ooh, look at
flavored
that.
orange
Cake with
flavored
wine.
cake.
You do, eh?
Yeah.
Like what? If you ever need an excuse, apparently, to have some sparkling wine, a cake is a good one. What else is in there? Don't tell me. Dates? No, they're walnuts. Pecans?
Pecans.
Okay, they're a nut.
Yep.
You know, dates is always a go-to, right?
Okay. Let's toast the cake. It's quite nice. Yeah.
So hopefully the cake is nice too.
That'll be nice in the cake.
I'm curious about what that will bring to the cake. Ooh, it's
You're not going to get any of the sparkly bit,
I've made a mess already.
but it's going to bring an acid component that will play off of
It's a really big piece.
the sugar and the orange, I think. Well, that's good.
So I assume there's additional orange flavor in there and not just the... Okay. That's really nice though. It's very fresh. It's a
is
very
ver-
fresh flavor.
So there's orange zest through the cake, and then I made an orange syrup pour over the cake after it was baked, and then there's a little bit of that orange syrup mixed in with the whipped cream.
So I will say the whipped cream does make it a little slippery.
It does make
in
it
the
slippery.
pieces.
It makes it tough.
It is not a fluffy, soft cake.
Not a fluffy cake. No, not at all. It has body, but it's really good.
Wow, this has been super fun.
I love that flavor combination. Okay, so
I'm gonna see how it goes with my wine. Or my
bubbly wine.
my bubbly wine.
Can't call it champagne. Bubbly wine. Like I said earlier, smaller cake tin to get a higher layer. I don't know that I'd change anything else with it though. You could use ice wine if you had the means to afford ice wine to put in a cake. It would be good in a cake, but any sweet wine would work. I think that's the bottom line. And you could serve a sweet dessert wine with your dessert, having it in the dessert, which would really work well together.
The same theory goes, right?
Yeah.
You pair it with whatever you've made in it. That's really nice.
Okay.
I'm just gonna keep nibbling.
Very sophisticated adult cake. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you again soon.
Well, that's puts no pressure on
No.
no pressure on us.
No.